On this CrossFirst News special report, AI on the rise. Using AI in the church. Did you know that when it comes to the house of God and AI, there may be many congregants out there that may feel uncomfortable? In international news, using AI at the Vatican. When you think of St. Peter's Basilica, you probably think of the Catholic Church. You probably think of the Pope in Rome. But did you ever consider that St. Peter's Basilica is now also known for having an AI twin? CrossFirst News Life. What if you could talk to your favorite celebrity or fictional character anytime you wanted? But there is a risk. And lastly, my commentary. You know, in building an organization, one thing we always have to look at is where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. I'm M.King. CrossFirst News starts right now. Welcome to this special CrossFirst News special report, AI on the rise. We're going to take a look at how AI is rising and how it's doing a lot of good and how it's doing a lot of bad, and what we as the Christian church can continue to do about it. Let's take a look at U.S. news. Using AI in the church. Did you know that when it comes to the house of God and AI, there may be many congregants out there that may feel uncomfortable about AI finding a place in the church? But did you know that according to a Barna Group survey, 88% of pastors say they feel comfortable using AI to assist in graphic design? Now, involving the survey, 80% of pastors say they wouldn't mind AI assisting with graphic design. 78% said they wouldn't mind AI assisting with marketing and marketing materials. 70% said they wouldn't mind AI tracking church attendance and engagement. 15% said they wouldn't mind AI assisting with communication. 47% said they wouldn't mind AI organizing and prioritizing church tasks. 43% of pastors said they wouldn't mind AI helping with sermon research and preparation. It's intriguing to examine this survey and observe what pastors are willing to allow AI to do. However, did you know that there are some tasks pastors aren't yet willing to delegate to AI? Only 6% of pastors in this survey said they're willing to let AI counsel congregants and church members. Only 12% said they're interested in AI writing sermons. Only 24% said they're interested in AI reviewing applicants or analyzing candidate resumes for hiring. And 35% of pastors said they're interested in creating learning experiences for children using AI. Now, in the end, while the numbers may not seem overwhelmingly impressive, the age of AI is steadily advancing within the church. ChatGPT is being utilized in various ways to enhance ministry and discipleship. One application is engaging online audiences, right? Specifically, by using prompts and sermon notes from the speaker, ChatGPT can ask questions and engage online congregants in more impactful conversations. Another way ChatGPT is being employed is to assist members with pastoral care, generating resources for everyday questions and even providing Bible verses to support congregants during difficult times. You know, and looking at the Barna survey and poring over the research and reading what Barna brought to light about what pastors think and what congregants think about AI in the church, this quote from Joyce Myers is one that I ran across that I think fits an idea and tone we need to continue to set. We don't need self-confidence. We need God-confidence. You know, what's my point? Ultimately, I think one of the key points that needs to be addressed is the fact that we as a church need to pray. We need to earnestly pray about God's heart for us in utilizing this tool and ask God's Spirit to guide us as we use it to conduct His will and his way. It's intriguing to observe that those outside the church, as shown in the Barna Group survey, are very interested in AI. They want to use AI. They want to see AI used more and more. However, it's equally intriguing that pastors aren't as enthusiastic about AI being used extensively within the church. In other areas, what was particularly interesting about the Barna Group survey was that some congregants are looking to their pastors for guidance on how to use AI in a more Christ-centered and effective manner. Folks, at the end of the day, this comes back to our personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Right? There are some pastors who are perhaps less knowledgeable about AI than their congregants. Therefore, we need to be prayerful that God will lead and guide the church, and especially our leaders, regarding AI and how it can best be used to help our church lead the lost to Christ. Now, in international news, using AI at the Vatican. When you think of St. Peter's Basilica, you probably think of the Catholic faith, right? You probably think of the Pope in Rome. But did you ever consider that St. Peter's Basilica is now also known for having an AI twin? No fooling. St. Peter's Basilicas, or St. Peter's AI twin, St. Peter's AI Basilica twin, will allow individuals to enjoy an immersive experience through interactive rooms and a new interactive website. This website will allow people to enjoy what is being called the People's Basilica. Iconem, a French startup that specializes in documenting different important cultural sites in 3D, took over 400,000 images of St. Peter's Basilica, and then Microsoft used its AI tools to help create an interactive and immersive experience. One of the benefits of the digital basilica is that it allows historians to admire and preserve the work being done, right? As well as notice details like cracks in the structure, right? It's 400 years old. These observations can help people make repairs, recommendations, and ensure that the basilica remains in use for another 400 years. Not only is St. Peter's Basilica launching a new website and interactive tools, like an app, but they are also opening the door for young people to enjoy this new immersive St. Peter's Basilica on, of all places, Microsoft's game-based learning platform, Minecraft Education. With all these wonderful things taking place, St. Peter's Basilica and having the ability to use AI to do something that I think is really incredible and never been done before at this ancient site, the Archpriest of St. Peter's Basilica had this to say. The digital ecosystem, quote unquote, will accompany visitors to help them have a more spiritual experience. Interesting. What's my point, folks? This is incredible. First and foremost, it's amazing to see an organization whose building was erected 400 years ago using such a new technology to document and showcase its history and spiritual significance. I think one of the lessons we can learn as believers is to avoid being quick to judge and to refrain from thinking, hey, maybe that's not for us. Maybe we should avoid that. We have to understand that there are things out there God allows. Now, we all know that God has a kingdom and Satan has an empire. And you have to look at it this way. God's kingdom is always going to take something, emphasis on the word something, and use it for his glory. Satan's empire is always going to take something and use it for Satan's glory. Now, I didn't say everything. I said something. So I think in this case, to see the basilica doing something like this is truly beautiful and awesome. I think we as believers need to step back and really give God some glory, especially to see them teaming up with a secular organization to do something like this. Sometimes we're quick to limit God and look at others and say, well, they don't serve you. Hey, don't be so quick to judge, because just as God opened a door for the Basilica's cardinal to speak with the president of Microsoft, maybe God can open a door for you to speak to someone and team up and do an AI project with them. All for God's glory. Well, folks, Cross First News Life. Using AI and suicide. Folks, this was a very sad story, and it took me a while to get through creating this special because this story was really painful to deal with. What if you could talk to your favorite celebrity or fictional character anytime you wanted? Now, what if I told you that that experience would take over your life and eventually cause you to commit suicide? For one mother, this is the reality of losing her son to an AI social platform that lets people talk to or create their own AI chatbot. Character AI allows users to chat with chatbots modeled after fictional characters and even celebrities. Or they can create their own, believe it or not. These chatbots can respond with human-like voice tones and conversation cues, as well as reference their own facial expressions in their replies. Now, looking at it, some people might think it's harmless. But for Megan Garcia, a Florida mother, something that seemed so harmless turned into something so horrifying. Her 14-year-old son, Sewell Setzer III, was having a conversation with a character AI chatbot based on a character from Game of Thrones. While these conversations started out harmless, they soon went wrong, becoming sexually explicit in nature. Sewell even opened up to the chatbot, saying that he had thoughts of harming himself. The chatbot ended up suggesting that this 14-year-old young man should end his life. And you know what? That's exactly what he did in February of 2024. But the interesting thing is, this didn't happen overnight. Sewell first used character AI in April of 2023, not too long after his 14th birthday. Well, believe it or not, and unfortunately, with time on the platform, Sewell was beginning to have low self-esteem, right? With time on the platform, he quit junior varsity basketball and began to withdraw from family. And unfortunately, by February of the next year, he will be gone. This is from Sewell's mother. You need to know about it. Speaking of character AI, because in my opinion, we are behind the 8 ball here. A child is gone. My child is gone. Folks, what's my point? Where do I even begin with this? The fact that a young man fell head over heels for an AI chatbot. Now, I know some people might think that sounds weird, right? But the nature of these conversations is age-related. Many young men at this age are looking for, friends and sexual gratification. It's surprising for me to see that it came from a chatbot. Now, I'm going to be honest, growing up, I think the biggest thing we faced in my generation as a millennial was pornography. But to think that in this day and age, you have something like an AI chatbot that talks to you with human-like conversational abilities and even has a voice. Hearing about this story, reading the article, hearing the mother's testimony about how she felt, it is both bothersome and alarming. As believers, we have to understand that with everything in life, there's good and there's bad. There's light and there's darkness. Satan wants to keep up with God. And we have to understand that just like AI can be used as a tool for the church, it can also be used as a tool for Satan and his empire. I think what breaks my heart about this whole story is that the mother knew there was something wrong, and she tried as best as she knew how to deal with it. But I think we as believers have to come to an understanding that while she did everything she earthly could, we also have to bring the spiritual aspect into it. If this young man at 14 was willing to listen to a chatbot, we have to remind our young people in the church that reality and AI are two totally different things. They're two totally different spaces. Just like reality and social media are two totally different things. After all, social media is like a highlight reel of someone's life. Amen? And it is crucial that we remember to keep God first. AI is a tool, folks. We should never make AI a person. when we start making AI a person, that's when it becomes a problem. Now, when I say making AI a person, I mean making AI fill up something inside of us that's empty like a person. Right? Side note. You want to hear something even more disturbing about this? Right? This special was delayed. At least I thought it was delayed from its original date. I learned something in that time period that it was delayed. Listen to this. Did you know that almost a year after her son's death, Megan Garcia discovered that her son's likeness and voice were being used on Character AI's platform to create new AI chatbots? And some of these AI chatbots were even designed to ridicule Sewell Setzer's death. Folks, we have to be careful and stay engaged. Folks, we have to put up spiritual guardrails. We have to teach our children before an AI chatbot or even an AI platform gets to them and either does or doesn't teach them the right thing to do. Folks, lastly in this special, my commentary. Using AI and what I learned in our ministry. Well, folks, on a lighter note, you know, in building an organization, one thing we always have to look at is where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So it's no surprise that sometimes when we look at where we're going, we have to look at what's around us today and how it's going to help us to get where we need to go tomorrow. Well, what if I told you that we at M.King Media have embraced and are embracing AI? Here at M.King Media, we saw AI on the horizon, but didn't think much of it. Now, you know, it's funny. It wasn't until at work I had a friend of mine, and he was, well, I'm in security, and he was, I guess, in a conversation against me, and he was, I'm sure, using AI. So I decided to fight back and use AI as well. I believe I was using Google Gemini. I started to discover and realize that using AI can help, right? It can do a lot of interesting things. I also started to realize that using AI can help with our blog. Right now, I use AI to correct grammar on my blog posts and news releases. And believe me, the AI tool I'm using now is significantly better than the AI tool I used to use, right? Well, now I plan on using AI to help me, well, not write my next book or devotional. I plan on using AI to help me, again, correct grammar with that, right? You have no idea. I would have to send this off to the board members, and the board members would have to proofread and help me correct. And unfortunately, they're people, they miss things, I miss things, and sometimes a devotional will get published, and sometimes it would have grammatical corrections in it. You know, as time goes on, AI has the potential to help this organization, M.King Media, Inc., in other ways. When it comes to the art and photos that we have to look up online for many documentaries, right? That takes a lot of time. Eventually, AI can help us in that aspect as far as creating photos and different things that we need instead of having to use royalty-free websites. Now, discretion is advised, right? We don't want to step on copyrights because that's actually a big thing that's happening right now as of this broadcast. An AI organization is being sued by, I believe, Disney and Universal, right? Another way that AI has helped to change this organization is that, well, AI has helped with this project. You see, a lot of times when I write and do cross-verse news, I look at multiple sources, and AI was really good at helping me to take these sources and make sure that the information I wrote is correct and accurate as of this broadcast. Now, have I made mistakes in the past concerning my media projects? Yes, I have. And that's the reason why I feel AI is a good tool to help me make less mistakes, if I can be honest. You know, and looking at how AI was used in M.King Media, folks, there's only one quote that comes to my mind that I can use to I think really sum it all up. This is a favorite quote of mine. It's from Benjamin Franklin, and I learned this actually at church, 2014. And it goes as this: when you're finished changing, you're finished. What's my point? You know, there are two sides to everything, good and bad. When you when we look at AI, it's still a formative technology, a developing thing. But I think in situations where students are using AI to learn and sometimes to cheat, something like this is revealing itself as a vulnerability that people are taking advantage of. We have to realize that even Satan is taking advantage of it. I guess what I'm trying to say is this. There's good and bad to everything in this world. And the only way we can leverage anything, especially AI, towards God's kingdom is by first having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. In the end, that's what's going to give us the foundation to build whatever we may build, whether it be through wood, stone, or AI. Folks, on behalf of all of us here from this Creative Christian Media Organization, I'm M.K. Thanks for joining us for this special report, AI on the Rise. I look forward to seeing you in the future in other productions, and I look forward to seeing you back here on Cross First News next time. Goodbye. This is an M.King Media production.